Back at it again. RIC in the place to be. Ric Serritella here, going all access with you along with sports management worldwide. In fact, we're going to do this periodically from time to time. And we got a special guest lined up for you. Before we get into it, I do want to let everybody know that when one door closes, another door opens. And so you may or may not have heard the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl has disarmed. The NFLPA is now a sponsor of the Senior Bowl. We'll talk a little bit about that. So I won't be doing as much traveling this upcoming football season nationally, but I'll be doing a lot of traveling, doing the scouting trails, but more importantly, starting the agent apprenticeship at Sports Management Worldwide. I'm really excited about it. My first virtual classroom where I get to educate and regulate a group of individuals rather than working with people one-on-one. We're going to pass along all the knowledges, all the experiences, everything that I've learned over the last 2 decades. We're going to try to cram it in there in a 4-month apprenticeship. And look at this. We're multitasking on the air, but let's get into the first SMWW podcast of the 2023 football season. And it would not be more appropriate than to have the man himself, founder, CEO, sports agent, entrepreneur. He's represented, I believe, 150 clients in the National Football League. He's certified about 20,000 students in 162 countries over the last 20 years or so at smww.com. Let's welcome in Dr. Lynn Lashbrook. How are you, Doc?
Good to be here. Looking forward to this program, and our relationship keeps growing. And as I say to everybody, journalize today and monetize tomorrow, and that's what we're all about.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we've been friends now for quite a while. I come out to the football career conference out in Indianapolis, which I believe is really the best networking event of the year. I don't care if it's down in Mobile or Indianapolis, but to me, that event out there, I meet so many different people and get to grow your network, right? But the best part is just kind of giving back to all the students and all the people trying to break into the business. What a competitive industry, no matter what slice or way you dice it, in football, agency, media, NIL now, name, image, and likeness. There's so many avenues in this great game of football. And we'll talk a little bit about all sports. Obviously, I'm football focused, but Sports Management Worldwide, Doc, is kind of exploded since the COVID. You guys just keep adding more courses, more students, more apprenticeships, which we'll get into. But take a minute at home to tell the listening audience where Sports Management Worldwide is at, where it's headed. I know you're a big advocate of going global, and I'm right there with you.
Well, 163 countries and growing every day. But Rick, backing up to Indianapolis, our first, it was a Jerry Maguire movie that really got me to dream a little bigger than just an online course. And we started with that and an agent advisor program on dial-up Yahoo, Rick, if you can go back that far. And I remember a couple of students wanted to meet me in Indianapolis, which I go to every year for the NFL. And that's how we started with 20 in a room. And it was pretty amateurs out the Holiday Inn, the old Holiday Inn at the old airport, because we didn't want anybody to, we want to keep costs down, but everybody kept leaving to go down to look at the combine. And after 2 years, we went down there and, we get 200, 300, 400 people at an event, but that's a big deal. Where are we today? We started with one student. We have over 30,000 graduates from all over the world. We have 40 plus courses, all for college credit. They're 8-week courses, lifetime membership, informational interviews. Rick, we're growing. When I say go global, go home, the impact of football and the NFL going to Europe, this. You look at the draft, you look what NIL's doing. There's an opportunity like never before. And I use the metaphor, I use the analogy. The Uber driver, before Uber came, taxis dominated transportation. Now you can't hardly find a taxi except Vegas and a few other cities. And really what we're doing, a student comes, one of our 40 courses, they get in, just like an Uber driver has a car and a driver's license. They fill out an app, they go to the airport, and they pick up a passenger. That's literally what that 2.0 revolution is in sports management worldwide. It's a very exciting time.
Yeah, and I love the partnership now you have with your alumni, Fort Hays State. students actually getting online credits towards their
Yeah.
degrees, and I believe that's going to expand as well.
Well, and it's a huge compliment. I went to school there. I walked on, and we got a book coming out called The Walk On Approach. And I really try to inspire everybody, anybody. You walk onto our website, walk on and walk into a classroom, and we'll change your life forever getting in the ecosystem. You know, Mike McCarthy, the Dallas Cowboy coach, started his coaching career at Fort Hays. I started not only my playing career, but my coaching career at Fort Hays. And of course, Cavante Turpin's a great story of how two guys from Monroe, Louisiana, represented a 26-year-old playing in Poland, if I may, talking about global. So my point is, Rick, not only are we growing, what you're doing and going to the Senior Bowl, there's so much happening. I've never, you know, Notre Dame's in Ireland, the conference realignment, transfer portal. Every athlete and every family from high school to college to the draft to overseas needs an advisor. Right in your backyard, you have an opportunity to be a business sports agent advisor, no matter what course you take. Go ahead, Rick. I love talking to you.
Yeah, no, and you just surround yourself with a team of very, very competent, experienced individuals. You know,
Yeah,
Doc, myself, we're working with you.
yeah,
We're gonna ramp you up, right? 0 to 60 real
yeah,
quick. But you know, you used one of my favorite words there, an inspiration.
yeah.
And I'm gonna put you a little bit on the spot. Maybe I'm not.
Go
Uh,
ahead.
no, I'm seriously, I'm curious to know, like, you've been in this business. I don't want to age you, but you've been in this business quite a while. Like, when you were breaking into the industry, though, Doc, like, who were some of your mentors or business associates that you were able to lean on in the early years, right? That you look back and say, man, it was so great to have so and so to bounce off of ideas, or just kind of somebody that made an impact early on.
You know, Rick, being the smallest guy in the largest high school, growing up in Kansas City, being a farmer city boy, if I hadn't taken the leap to walk on at Fort Hays, I got to give my coach credit. He gave some young people a chance, and that was a blessing. But more importantly, coming back to Fort Hays as a 23-year-old with a doctorate, and Dr. Russell Bogue hired me to get into the coaching and teaching, and that's really got my start. When I came to University of Missouri, that was a leap of faith. I left tenure, which nobody leaves tenure, and I go back to Dr. Jean Sarah, a pioneer with Title IX, but she hired me from Fort Hays to go to Missouri. But it was at Missouri I met a guy named Jim Steiner, who was Jerry Rice's agent. And when I came back after 20 years being a college athletic director, I just resigned at Alaska. Western Michigan offered me a job, Division I program, but I wanted to watch my son play high school. But Jim Steiner reluctantly gave me a chance. And the first year, when you say Jim Steiner, you say Jerry Rice's agent, you get in any room. And I'll never forget my favorite story is the Ralph story. Ralph Dawkins is an undrafted free agent. We're not going to recruit him, but I'll drop off a brochure. I knew Steve Milburn. I was an academic advisor for years. And I get a phone call. We're down at the Orange Bowl recruiting two top players from the Florida State team that won the national championship that year. And Ralph's uncle called, and I said, well, we're not going to, you know, it is what it is, but we're not going to drive to fly to Louisville to see you. So I'm right here in Miami. And I had to talk Jim into going over to see Uncle Vince. And to make a long story short, and Ralph has a younger brother as a freshman at Clemson. We never heard of Brian Dawkins. Nobody knew. And 2 years later, or 3 years later, we represented Brian Dawkins and a Hall of Famer. And that's how I got my start in the agent world. And that's when I decided, why not give other people an opportunity? If they don't know Jim Steiner, why not create a toolbox where anybody, anywhere in the world, will get you in our family and we'll be the Jim Steiner for you. And that's really what we're doing. And that's why there's so many successful stories right now, because we're giving people a chance. You don't have to know somebody. You just have to start, meet people. But there's an athlete in your backyard. Every city, every town, there's an athlete.
Yeah, and I think that's a great story, and for those that don't know, Jerry Rice was kind of mislabeled due to his 40-yard dash time, right?
Yeah,
Coming from an HBCU
yeah,
program, didn't run the greatest 40,
yeah.
and what you would think looking back, oh, Jerry Rice, you would think he's a first round pick. No, not so
Yeah.
fast, my friends. So
Rick,
that's
I want to add something here that's really a similar conversation.
Yeah.
Jerry Rice didn't sign with Jim Steiner. Jerry went with somebody else, and it didn't work out. And Roger Craig from Nebraska, playing for San Francisco, Jim Steiner had him. It was Roger that took young Jerry and said, "I want you to meet my agent." That's how it works. If you do
Yeah.
a good job, you get referrals, and I call it the Ralph rule. But that's even a greater story because that wasn't Jim's first pick. In fact, when we signed Mark Fields with Jim Steiner, is through by Tom Mosby, former academic advisor who was a high school coach. I put together this idea of an agent advisor because we got Mark Fields, and that was the first time Jim Steiner had a first round pick. He had a very successful inventory of players, refrigerator Perry and everything. But you go back to it, it's all about this idea that we came up with 30 years ago. Not only is working, it's exploding because you can't keep up. A guy from California doesn't know anything about Monroe, Louisiana. That's simply players and families need somebody they can trust.
No, no doubt about it. I think it's hard to find a good mentor, but man, when you have a good one, it is really, really one of the best tools in the
Yeah.
toolbox. And I think that's one of the great assets at SMWW. And also, like, a lot of it too is also on the student, I believe, because you're providing the resources. But if the student is not resourceful, I'm learning,
Yeah.
just in life, not just the classroom, but like
Yeah.
you've got to be resourceful. So, like, we're going to empower you, give you the knowledge, give you the
Yeah.
methods, give you the strategies. You've been doing this for even more decades than myself, but it's like, hey, we know this is what works. Okay.
Right.
We can go back. We have case studies. This is how you do it. Here's how you negotiate. Here's how you recruit in 2023. The landscape has changed. Here's what you need to know. Here's the loopholes, NIL, marketing deals. Here's what you need to know.
Yeah.
Trainers, the proliferation of trainers popping
Absolutely.
up all over the country. Here's what you need to know, right? Because you could get a guy trained for $20,000 and a similar trainer that could do the same thing for $1,000, right? And it's
Yeah.
all about who you know.
Uh,
That one is about who you know and how you want to
yeah.
invest your money, and the way you can allocate those resources
Yeah.
behind a client. Do you want to put it behind training? Do you want to put it behind travel, which
Yeah.
we're going to get into? But anything you want to follow up on there, Doc?
Yeah, Rick, you know what's interesting? Before the salary cap, there was no training provided. It was the agents got scared. What do I bring to the table? The salary cap took away a lot of negotiations. You're slotted if you're drafted. So they came up with this because Mark Fields, we paid no money, or Matt Moore, we had a lot of success. And now it's gotten out of hand. And you're right. You bring a tremendous amount of expertise. When should you invest in a player? You have to be able to survive and make money. We always tell people don't quit your day job. That's until we came along, it really you had to go in full fledged. And now do it part time and get your clients. And then someday with 10 clients, you could have a very successful company with the kind of money. And then Rick, if you take NIL and you talk about EA and the prolonging your name, image, and likeness, you could be a star in your community forever. Cavante Turpin, no matter how many years he plays, if he plays his cards right, he establishes himself to monetize Cavante Turpin in Dallas just in 1 year. And that's where I think we need to spend more time with the athlete off the field as well as getting ready for the draft. You know what I'm talking about. And it can't be done from corporate America. That's why I think we have a chance here to revolutionize the representation business.
No, that's a great point. And the name, image, and likeness. I'm curious to get your opinion. Uh, when we go back, and I want to say when we go back to the history books, but everything will be online, right? Just look at SMW. When we go back online and look at this era of
Yeah,
college football over the last just 5 years, college football
yeah,
playoffs, NIL, transfer portal,
yeah,
realignment. I mean, the whole NCAA has kind of been turned upside down. It doesn't matter whether we like it or not. It's reality, right? I was talking to Coach Jim Moore. I asked him, "Do you
yeah.
like it, Coach? Do you want to see more rules and regulations? Do you want to see the NCAA police this stuff?" He said, "Rick, you know what? It doesn't matter what I think." He said, "This is the new reality that we live
Great.
in, and we
Yeah,
have to do something for the players." And guess what? It's a really convoluted Shark Tank because you have the schools are working with all these third party collectives, which now is making it professional sports. And the NCAA isn't really allowing the school to bring those collectives in house. They should really just let the school have it under the umbrella, because they're just doing backdoor third
Right.
party deals anyway.
So
Right? What are your thoughts there?
yeah, no, I think it's a great point. I got to be honest with you. Every high school player, they're going to pick a college with their family. They love to have somebody they know and trust. This is not rocket science. We provide all the information. You're already a sports expert. You already have the car and the driver's license. And once you come to us, we have a place to meet every week and go over the question of the day. But make a long story short, I think the biggest role of the agent not only is NIL, picking the right college, also, Rick, the transfer portal. I saw a young man I wouldn't represent. He didn't want to go out. He wanted to go out early. I said, no, stay in. If you don't like the school, go to a transfer portal. He said, I don't want to learn any new playbooks. I said, listen, I've had players in the NFL for 10 years that learned 10 different playbooks that never threw a pass. True story. And so we're getting advice from out there because agents want to represent an athlete that gets drafted. But in fairness, there's so many decisions that fifth-year quarterback, Notre Dame's quarterback's 24 years old, etc. So I think the agent is involved from high school all the way through college with NIL and decision making. And I think that's the new road. And that goes back to Uber's replaced the taxi. The taxi can't come to every neighborhood, and it hasn't. And Uber won. And I think Sports Money Worldwide, we're going to win because end of the day, just like LeBron James, I want somebody I know and trust to start with. They can learn the business with me. But I am not going to take somebody with a brochure and say, trust me. It doesn't work that way anymore. There's too much complexity in what's going on.
Yeah, especially with the NIL, because just like any other business, there's a handful of bad apples that can ruin the bunch. And if you're just out here, like it sounds, some of these NIL deals sound great, and then when you peel back the layers, some of these rights and things that the players are signing away, they're not really reading the fine print
Absolutely.
there. And you need at least an advisor to review the contracts, somebody in your corner. And look at Bo
Yeah.
Nix reportedly made $5 million in NIL to return
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
Oregon, maybe more than he would have made if he came out for the draft. And that's
Oh
what.
no. It's revolution. And I got to be honest with you. I look at we have an NIL course taught by a very good instructor in the industry. All our faculty are industry leaders, including yourself. But hear me out. I think many of our agents are coming back and they're taking NIL, they're taking athlete marketing. This is a new world. And it's all driven by relationship. I always say it's relationships. You already have the relationship. All you need is some credentials. And all of a sudden, that's why we got everybody wondering what's going on here with this company that started with one student, and now we have 30,000 graduates. As we can grow our footprint around the world, there's athletes in Africa watching on Amazon streaming, and they want to play football. They're not going to play soccer. They're not going to play badminton. My point is the athletic talent in 8 billion people, and that's why the Jerry Jones of the world insists on an NFL Europe. They're playing 5 games this year. We did conference over there 20 years ago, and they sold out in 10 minutes. And you're telling me there's not great athletes over there? The NFL's doing tryouts over there. So wouldn't somebody from England know the athlete and family, understand it better culturally than somebody like you or me saying, trust me? And so that's the new world we're in. It's a very exciting time. That's the go global, go home. That's simply what I stand by every day. And it motivates me, obviously. Go ahead, Rick.
No, I love it. You got to invest in yourself if you want to get an edge. And that's what the premier people in the business do, right? They look for any
Yeah.
little edge. And I bumped into Teddy Gavay over at the NFLPA Bowl, and we were chatting, and he saw me chopping it up. Oh, Doc? Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. I took the analytics course, man. It was great. And look, they almost won 3 Grey Cups in a row. They lost in the championship, but back-to-back Grey Cups, was in the championship again last year. And then, oh, by the way, they hired Cyril, who was an SMWW intern, who also
Yeah.
took the class.
Yeah.
So now he's up there scouting and working for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Rick, I was listening to Dan Patrick on the way in. They're in Ireland, by the way. Notre Dame
Dublin,
plays.
eh?
And
Yeah.
interviewed Jason Garrett, who I've met at the Senior Bowl. Why did he want to talk to me? Because I had Matt Moore who was a free agent. How did I get Mark Dominic wanted Matt Moore so badly? We became friends. He ended up staying in Miami. Mark Dominic ended up teaching for us. He's still an ambassador for us. So what I'm trying to say, if you get one athlete, a Cavante Turpin, you meet all the GMs. You're in the ecosystem, and you get to use our Rolodex. So we're handing an entire network. We're handing the entire Uber app to anybody. And by the way, when you come out of the airport and you press Uber, you want the closest and fastest rider. You don't ask for a certain guy from Ireland. And that's the exciting thing. There's athletes in your backyard, and they also come from Fort Hays State. They're all over. You can't keep up. And you know this in scouting. There's no such thing as a diamond in the rough because everybody's out there. There's video on everybody. Parents are promoting their kid. There's more opportunity than ever before, and that's just football. Don't forget basketball. Look at all the sports. It's an exciting, most exciting time. Online education, post-COVID, globalization, streaming, sports betting, NIL. That's why I call it a 2.0 revolution. The world has changed, and we're not done yet. And it's an exciting time for you to monetize your passion for sports.
No, opportunities are coming in bunches. And you mentioned Jason Garrett. To your point, a Princeton alumni. I will be. This is pre-recorded, but I'll be going to Princeton tomorrow to go scout the offensive tackle there. So the Ivy League, man, they had a wide receiver in the Senior Bowl who's doing pretty well in the preseason. But I think that's pretty cool too. Is when I work with my agent apprenticeship class. Like you want the immediate direct, like, you know, Greg Schiano said something to me back in his first stint with Rutgers when they were in the top 10, and he said, you know, we're talking about high school recruiting, and he said, I don't have to recruit. You know why? I got all the coaches telling me who I need to look at. Right? And so, like, that's half the battle. So, like, you know, the agent apprenticeship, it's like, hey, guess what? We got a database of 2,500 guys with grades, scouting reports. I'm going to tell you who you need to be talking to. We're going to save you a lot of that travel and research and time. I mean, you would have to hire a whole scouting department to tap into some of the access and resources that we have. So, talking about the agent apprenticeship, we haven't dug into it too much. You know, I'm excited first and foremost, and one of the things is, you know, I like to say this is my first time teaching a group consistently over the course of time, and one of the free benefits I will include here is going to be life education, and that's one of the things to me. I really think that as I get older here and work more and more on myself, the more and more opportunities and smart decision making I'm making in business. And I really believe that the two go hand in hand. I wish I learned that earlier in life. Nobody ever taught it to me. I didn't learn it in high school. I didn't learn it in college. I also wasn't paying attention, but I am now. And I think there's a lot of life education kind of from experience. And we're going to apply that into some of the strategies of agent, because I think there's a lot of hand in hand that coincides there. I don't know the point I'm trying to make, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
I'll make it for you, Rick. We're taking it to another level. We have the affiliate program for the registered agent, but there's a lot that goes into this now. The scouting and knowing what you're doing, and we've never beefed up this second to this apprenticeship for those that really want to focus and make it a full-time job instead of maybe a part-time job. And that's what excites me most. And ending up at the Senior Bowl with your mentoring and all your experience on the draft and scouting side, and my experience as an agent and all the network of people, Dane and everybody that we bring in, and then to be right there at the Senior Bowl. There's just no walls. You're there with everybody. It's a fascinating place. All the agents are there. All the coaches are there. All the scouts are there. Parents are there. Everything's there. It's a fascinating experience. And why not get paid for your passion? So I'm more proud than you realize of how we're coming together, because all our instructors, including you don't have a doctorate in kinesiology like I do, which is not very applicable today with analytics or sports or football scouting or whatever. The John Wootens of the world that don't have a doctorate bring 90 years, 80 years experience in the NFL. And so we bring people in to get you comfortable that you can learn this business. And I always go back, you didn't play at that level. Your dad doesn't own the team. That doesn't mean you can't be the GM of an NFL team or an agent of a first-round draft pick. It's simply, there's no excuses anymore. And if you keep your day job, we're not asking you to take a full risk and leave the family. We're asking you to incrementally grow and learn more. And that's what the apprenticeship program is for those that want to grow, build, and monetize more. They're going to have the tools and the resources to learn more than they've ever learned before. It's very exciting. It's a Cadillac.
Yeah, no, it is. And most agents, as you know, they burn out after a year or two. They burn through all their investment and their
Yeah.
expenses. And so
Yeah.
we can kind of help, we're going to manage your bank account like it's
Yeah.
our bank account, so you don't make
Right.
some of the previous mistakes that we've all seen and witnessed and
Yeah.
unfortunately may have experienced. But you
Yeah.
mentioned, the Mobile experience. So you
Yeah.
mentioned our good friend, our mutual friend, Dane Vandernat, who I've worked with over the last 5 years or so. And he's been doing the football GM and scouting course, and now he's doing the fall apprenticeship. And I was talking about this on a previous show. I can't remember, but I was saying how it's going to be a smorgasbord of just networking and opportunity. So we're going to take Dane Vandernat's football scouting apprenticeship class. We're going to huddle up with the SMWW agent apprenticeship class with yourself and myself. We're all going to get together in the center of the football universe down there in Mobile. And man, oh man, Doc, I know half the people in life aren't even using business cards, whatever it is now, the electronic business cards. Have them ready, buckle up. Uh, and it's going to be such a great experience. Now, I know you guys always do a networking event
Yeah.
each year annually, but this year I believe is going to be the biggest, the baddest, the best yet.
Yeah.
Is the networking part, is that just for SMWW students or is that open to the public?
It's for anybody that wants to learn more and meet people. We bring some guests in. It's for coaches and scouts that want to network. We go upstairs at Beats, which is right across the street from the headquarter hotel, the Renaissance. It's growing and growing. But I agree with you. The consolidation with the NFLPA sponsoring now the Senior Bowl, I think it's going to be something very special. And to be honest with you, with transfer portal and coming out early, it's the excitement of the talent that's out there. And the Senior Bowl is the godfather of all of it. You talked about a smorgasbord of events, but I call it, food for thought. But when you come down to Mobile, every elevator, wherever you are, you meet somebody in the NFL ecosystem, I call it, and you're now part of the company. And Rick, we talk about recruiting. I always tell my agent advisors, get recruited. I'm on the airplane every 3 times a week, it seems like. When I say I'm a sports agent, they ask questions and they say, I got a son that is going to Virginia, whatever. You don't even have to recruit when you're with SMWW. Be recruited. Our business card has such a name in the sports world, or a curiosity, that they're going to ask you questions that they never would ask if you're just a guy that has a job and said, hi, how are you doing? And that's the exciting thing about sport. When you say SMWW sports agent or agent advisor, they want more questions. And everybody, I get referrals every day on my business card. Not because I went and tried to get somebody. I don't even know they have kids. Just the conversation of working in sport. Anybody that takes one course, that's why we talk about the alums and people that want to join us. We're going to be down there open arms, and I'm available 24/7. I just went to career day down in Anaheim. They canceled the game because of Hurricane Hillary. And but they still had the game. We had 400 people there that I met. I'm more interested, just like the agent advisors in Monroe. I love, at my age, I'm not going to be the head recruiter. I'm going to be the mentor. I love helping people get a client. It is so much fun to watch, Rick.
No, I love it. By the way, did you get caught up in the hurricane out there in California?
Well, we went down to Palm Desert. I had a doctor's appointment. By the way, I'm for SMWW. I'm getting some knee replacements, so
Yeah,
I
I was
could.
gonna ask. I don't know if you want to talk about that on the air. How you feel? I know you're doing a lot of traveling, a lot for good reasons, bad reasons, everything in between. How you feeling, by the way?
Well, the metaphor is you got to walk the talk, and I can no longer walk the talk literally, and so I'm going to get one and then the other. So, and I'm doing them in between seasons, so I can be in Mobile and I can be in Indianapolis. There's a lot of calculation going on here. But back to the hurricane, it hit Palm Desert in a way a lot of places weren't hit, but there's other places they're bring tractors in to take assisted living or families out of their houses because the water and the flooding, because there's no drainage in Palm Desert. Why would we have drainage when it never rains? In LA, as I talked to some students there, it was worse on TV than it was there. You know how the TV loves to grab a story, just like Adam Schefter loves a gossip story. It's all, it's all for viewership and more advertising. We know how that works.
Well, yeah, the news is no longer there to educate you; it's there to shock you, right? It's there to shock you, right? Because really, the news talk about finding you. The news finds you wherever you go. You can't escape it. It's in your hand. You're getting alerts. I mean, what do you get? Facebook alerts, Twitter alerts, Google alerts.
But tie this back into the ecosystem of sports. All the advertisers are going to live advertising because it's the only thing left where it's not asynchronous. And Netflix, they don't advertise like they do on that linear TV. And that's the globalization. It's not just Super Bowl advertising. Even college games. Look at what the TV has done to the realignment. The money talks, but the viewership and the sports, this is a new world, and there's so much money. And then the NIL based on that exposure. And every athlete needs to know how to handle the press because it can monetize after the press conference. It can go right into your NIL if you think about it. And it takes a lot of study and understanding the client and the mom and dad alone can't do it. They need an advisor. This is complicated. It's so complicated. I do a Sunday chat where I receive questions. We talk about issues that happened the day before because a book is out printed. There's no NIL book. There's no realignment book. This is a new world. You have to almost have a chat every week to talk about what happened last week, just like we're watching right now.
Yeah, well, I was talking to Liz. I'm hoping to be part of one of these Sunday conversations that you do each and every week. What is it, 11 a.m. Eastern every Sunday?
If you can get up that early, I'd like you to come in even this Sunday. And we would, Greg Glenn of my NIL comes in, Mike Oak in hockey. It's a great form. Rick.
Wait. What time is it?
It's 8 o'clock Pacific time, which is 11 o'clock.
I don't know if you'll be up. That's dinner time for me. Are you kidding?
11 a.m. But you know what? When we started, and seriously, and my wife remembers it. I remember I had two students. One was from New Jersey, Craig Red. I don't know if you met Craig before.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah. Craig was one of my first students. And Greg Hill out of Ohio. And we were dialing up Yahoo. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Like we were doing. But to make a long story short, any of our faculty can come in and plug what's going on and answer questions because we get no less than 25 people around the world. And somebody may be in soccer in Ghana, somebody may be in Japan on baseball. It makes no difference. When you talk sport business, it's applicable, whatever your passion is. You can learn from cricket, you can learn from rugby, you can look at what baseball analytics has done to the rest of the world. Look at the digital video, look at the AI coming in. All this is cross-pollinating. It's almost impossible to not learn from every question around the world, whatever the question is.
Well, we're going to sidetrack into some of these other courses since we were football dominant.
Yeah.
And, I was reading the Sports Business Journal a couple issues back, and this paddleball now is like one of the fastest growing.
Pickleball.
Yeah. Pickleball is one of the fastest growing, most explosive sports in the United States right now. I can't believe it. Like the money is ridiculous in this.
Well, they call it in Palm Desert, they call it cripple ball. My PA, my physician assistant or physical therapist said that they're getting more and more. And this is true. The insurances are doing more and more orthopedic because of pickleball, but it's a fascinating event. And it almost is going to replace, we did that Thanksgiving football for years before the big game. You remember Thanksgiving and football and da-da-da-da-da. The world has changed. Pickleball is really a family event. I mean, it's professional. It's global. It's so easy to learn. It's a fascinating sport. And you remember basketball started, I always tell people I went to school at Springfield. I held the ladder for Naismith, and he got all the credit. But it started with a peach basket. And by the way, if you look what soccer's doing with the women's soccer and now the soccer in America, I mean, the 2026 North America hosting the World Cup soccer, They set the stage for what? Look what Messi's done. They set the stage what Jerry Jones and others are doing. We got to grow our sport globally. You cannot rely. Baseball had to put the clock in. They did the World Baseball Classic. The go global, go home. There's 8 billion people out there. Sports is a substitute for war. My point is there are so many business opportunities in the ecosystem. During COVID, sports did very well. During the Depression, baseball tennis did well. By the way, online did very well during COVID. The whole world did it. Guess what? Universities are trying to get them back on campus with
Yeah.
double tuition, and it works. You can't tell me that we don't make online work. We say you can drink beer in my class. During COVID, we said no mask, bring a flask. The point is, if you don't want to have fun, we can't help you. If you want to have fun and make money, that's what you're doing, and that's what we're doing. It's so much fun. I'm ready to go to Mobile. I want to go.
I can't
I'm
wait.
gonna bring
Buckle
my
up.
mobile phone to Mobile.
It's going to be a double chin strap affair. And man, it's going to be some really, really good, valuable time worth investing into your really, you're going to build your network and take advice that, well, you'll carry for the rest of your life. And that's what we're trying to do here. Talking to Doc Lynn Lashbrook, Ric Serritella here. We're gonna wrap up here soon. Just on a side note, Doc, like I know you've had a pretty rough summer, but did you get to any training camps at all? I think I saw you out at a couple games. You guys are always traveling. I can never keep up with you, but
I didn't get any games. I was going to go up to Seattle and see Cavante, but we just family's important in the summer, as you well know.
yeah,
I've been watching all the games. I really thought the Netflix series on quarterback was great
yeah, I
and
enjoyed that.
inspirational, if I may, going back to Hank Stram and the Super Bowl. But it's a fascinating business how much we've learned on the inside of what's going on, which should make people more confident to come into this apprenticeship program, because before you couldn't get into sports unless you played the game and coached it. You couldn't get in. And now we've got Howie Roseman has spoken at our conference. Look, he's an incredible GM. He never played the game. And so, Rick, it's fascinating that you don't have to be a letterman in order to be the top person in the NFL. And if you want to be a GM, you should have that dream. But you got to get in the ecosystem. You can't sit around and just watch the Senior Bowl. You got to come to the Senior Bowl. You got to say hi to Jason Garrett at the restaurant and say, I'm impressed with what you're doing with Notre Dame and NBC, Peacock. You know your people, but as you meet people, good things happen to good people. And Rick, when you do information interviews with us, we send a Starbucks gift card. Oh, Howard Schultz, Starbucks gift card to thank them. No university in the world would spend a $10 gift card and thank somebody for interviewing their student. And that's the beauty of our infrastructure and ecosystem. And that's why we're so lucky to work with you, because what you're going to bring to the table is another example. I'm in the business. I love to share. Come on in. We're going to teach you everything we know. And that's what we do every day.
Yeah, no, I'm ecstatic about it. In fact, I've worked with a lot of agents individually and privately, from startup agents to proven agents on small scale deals, high level deals, situations where they've brought me into negotiating tables, and I had to, pick my jaw up off the ground. Some of the numbers that get thrown around. Right? To your point, like, how much do you invest in a day 2 guy versus a day 3 guy versus a priority free agent? And we're going to get into all that, the intricacies of peeling back the layers. And listen, there's so many ways to skin a cat in this industry, and I think that's really one of the benefits too. I've interacted with so many successful people and kind of applied a lot of their learning experiences successfully, but also the unsuccessful experiences, because I think in the agent industry, like, you are going to fail way more than you're going to succeed, right? But the one success could outweigh the 7 negatives. Like, Perry Bowler, for example, how many clients, and this is every agent, how many clients failed until he hit a home run with Cavante Turpin.
Yeah.
Like, it's a numbers game, but like, to your point, you've got to get out there. You've got to surround yourself from those people, places, things, everything you want to get out there. I mean, the All-Star circuit, believe it or not, we had guys come out at the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl interviewing with agents on the spot at the All-Star game, right?
You know,
So
Rick, you bring up a good point. And real quickly, the Cavante Turpin's a great example. It's two guys from Monroe, Louisiana that kept their day job and took a course, an 8-week course. It's the mother from Monroe, Louisiana that said, "Can you help my son?" I didn't think it could ever happen. He's playing in Poland. He's 26 years old. One of my rules is you have to play your way to the next level. You don't agent your way. The agents advise him to come back. They introduced him to a tryout in the USFL, and he made it. And he played for Mike Riley, and he did well. And nobody, no NFL team, these guys sent out all these tapes. I didn't even know it was going to happen. The reason I'm giving Perry and Brian all the credit as agent advisors, they stayed enthused. And Mike McCarthy from Fort Hays guy gave him a chance. And Liz and I are sitting there, and he got the first time he touched the ball, 98-yard touchdown, second quarter, 68-yard touchdown. He makes the team, he makes Pro Bowl. For me, that's such a thrill of what can happen for somebody that wants to learn the business. There's players, there's Cavantes out there in the world. They get lost, mistakes are made, they get a second chance. And that's kind of what we do. We're in that second chance world, and it's pretty exciting. And, you know, like I said, if you get Ralph Dawkins out of Louisville, you might get Brian out of Clemson. Those are true stories. None of this is fictitious. But what I want to go back to you, you've worked hard coming into the business. You've built your own brand, if I may. And we're so lucky to partner with you because I love what you do. And I know you love what we do. And we're going to have some fun. We're going to help people monetize their passion.
yeah, and to me, like what you just said right there about helping that Cavante Turpin, like that's the most rewarding part of it all. When
Oh,
you
yeah.
hit that home run and uh, you see it's all worth the perseverance, which you need a lot of,
Yeah.
right? Desire, ambition, passion.
Yeah.
And listen, when you do stuff like when you do stuff you love, it's really not work. My day started 3 a.m. By the way, I'll work till 10 p.m. and I don't care because my daughter's at the X's for the rest of the summer. Next week we've got the school season kicking off, so
Yeah.
back on daddy duties. But man, when I can get it in, right, we
Yeah.
really pour it on, and that's really what you need to do if you want to be serious in the world of sports, the business
Yeah.
of sports. You've got to know how to pour it on. We play hard too, but you got to work hard, just as
Yeah.
hard, if not harder. And listen, we're gonna wrap up things soon, but we talked about the football apprenticeships. I know SMWW offers apprenticeships for just about every major sport. Talk a little bit about that. What's the next one outside of football? I guess is going to be basketball apprenticeship
Yeah,
starting up.
basketball we have, and of course baseball with Dan Evans. They do such a great job in the scouting, and then many of our scouts coming back to be an agent. I tell everybody, an agent is a scout, and so many of our agents are learning the scouting so they can do better with their presentation. There's only a limited number of scouts, as you know. The agent world is the free market out there, the Ubering, and that's what I love. As much as you learn about scouting, just landing one Cavante with your scouting knowledge is another great way. And it's just exciting, all our resources. If you look at our website, we do every sport, and we're having growth primarily because we stayed global. We kept our prices friendly, if I may, and we give them a lifetime membership. So my Sunday chat is available for any alum forever. And I'm going to live a long time with those two new knees. It's going to be even better. But my point is that our whole website is about the business of sports, the analytics, the digital video editing, the coaching, the scouting, the apprenticeships. We do it all. We want to bring, I call it this, democratize access to opportunity, democratizes diversity. Rick, we're the most diversified sports company in the world when you get into to race, you get into gender, you get into culture, you get into geography. Sportsman worldwide, we're all over the world, and it's exciting because the product like NFL, an American product, is spreading around the world. That's why you're going to meet more and more global agents. You're going to meet more and more global athletes. And with NIL, the opportunity to come to America as a freshman from some part of the world, NIL is going to open the doors for a vast opportunity of talent discovery. You can't keep up with the traditional places.
Yeah, and you mentioned the international flavor. I mean, I'm working on the 2024 NFL draft database. I've never
Yeah.
inputted so many international, right? Other
Yeah.
third party country players in college football. It's coming. It's coming. And you mentioned the baseball apprenticeship, man. Dan Duquette, who I remember as a Yankee fan very well. Uh, you get a chance to learn from that guy hands on. Like if I want to work in baseball, and you
Yeah.
get a chance, I think Matheny too was another SMWW alumni. Mike
Yeah,
Matheny.
Dan Evans, a former GM of the Dodgers. Harry
Yep.
Sinden, lifelong Boston Bruins a leader, and it goes on and on. John Wooten, blocked for Jim Brown. He talks
Yeah.
to the students every week, and he's so resourceful. Maybe the nicest guy on earth, and he knows everybody, and he's helped us grow our company. But the genuine, and John hasn't been coming to Mobile, but he used to come every year. He introduced me to everybody. I met Jim Brown at a hotel in Dallas, and it's been a thrill to watch our faculty how they've been part of the SMWW Kool-Aid.
Man, I'll tell you, I had a chance to talk to Tom Coughlin like the week after Jim Brown passed away, and he couldn't say enough incredible things about the late great Jim Brown. We've covered a lot of topics here. What are some other things? Any other courses coming up that we should discuss? Any other announcements on the horizon? Did we lose the doc? Did we just lose the doc? Okay. I looked down at my notes and where'd he go? All right, so we will wrap things up. This was Ric Serritella for the All Access Football Sports Management Worldwide podcast. Again, we're going to do this periodically, whether it's with Doc or some of this other sports management worldwide instructors. I'm sure we'll pop on Aaron Schatz and Mike Tanier and Mike Stober. And that's the other fun part of working with sports management worldwide. I know so many of these instructors. So we're going to bring you kind of inside the SMWW classroom with all these great interviews, and keep it locked to the YouTube channel. We're going to continue with our ongoing all access interview series, of course, the all access podcast, now available everywhere. And for Ric Serritella, all access football, sports management worldwide, can't thank the good doctor for the DOC and the RIC. Signing off. We'll see you next time, baby.